Hello, Alaqua. How you doing? Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview.
Oh, of course.
So I was watching, of course, the series Echo, and then in the first episode, we see what happened with her in the previous series in Hawkeye, what with way more details, right? I mean, more details about Maya, about her feelings, and the whole new series is give you the chance to expand all of that, right? To explore Maya in all her complexity because she's back in her hometown. She's just like in Oklahoma. She's reconnecting with her family, with her indigenous roots, and it gets complicated. So how was for you? How interesting was for you to just like be able to portray this character again, but in such a bigger way?
It can be challenging at times because I struggle with embodying a character that has a lot of emotion because Maya is a very complicated person, like you said, and she struggles with a lot of different kinds of emotions, but it's a pretty fun challenge to be able to portray her. And I would have to think, I would remember before I started acting, I would look at YouTube videos or movies that involve a person who has emotions that they have to portray, or they're full of rage, and I would try and, embody that to prepare for my role. So it was a very interesting feeling to be able to portray her.
Yeah, because besides all the physical challenges, your character, as you say, is dealing with rage, with the traumas she suffered, right, because of her father's death and the family issues she's having. So it's complicated, but then at the same time, when she smiles, because she does smile sometimes, it makes a complete difference, right? So did you so besides all the YouTube videos and stuff, do you have an acting coach? How was that? I mean, did they like give you like some like acting lessons to be prepared to this?
I had a lot of people that did help me prepare for this role, including the director. I had a deaf acting coach, and I told them, Disney, I wanted a deaf acting coach, and they listened to me, and they were able to find me a deaf acting coach that I can have one-on-one conversations with. She was from New York. She was amazing. And they were able to help me pick out Maya's emotions and help me kind of finesse it into a way I can portray it. And also, I had a deaf personal trainer that helped me prepare for the physical parts of this role because I didn't want to be completely breathless after taking take after take after take. So they were able to help me stay consistent and figure out my stamina. And I just have a lot of people that helped me prepare for this role. Oh, and I also did have an ASL deaf consultant on set who had helped me translate all my lines from English into American Sign Language. So I had a lot of people in support for this role. I couldn't do this without them.
Sure. So after the more like playful tone of Hawkeye, were you surprised when you find Echo was way more mature, way more greedy? Because actually it's the first series from Marvel that is like rated TV mature. I don't know. I know the showrunner is Marion Dare, who was very involved with like Better Call Saul, so she probably has to do something with that.
I think it'll be more fun to watch a show like this that has more violence, in my opinion, and grittiness. I think the audience will enjoy it more. I didn't expect to be in that kind of violent, capacity. There's going to be lots of blood, lots of fighting, lots of killing involved, gang members and whatnot. So I'm really excited for the audience to be able to see the first Marvel, about grittiness of this show.
Sure. So I think it's fascinating that you representing three different communities with this role, right? I mean, the indigenous community, the deaf community, and the people who work like prosthetic devices. usually in movies, those characters were portrayed by people that were not part of those communities, and that's very important, right? And you probably had already a lot of feedback from these communities, and you're gonna have more feedback from those communities.
Oh, yeah. So I'm very grateful to be able to represent all three of the communities that are very underrepresented because all of them are so small. It's crazy how underrepresented they are. You know, women in this community have just gone huge strides. And of course, I'm getting the support from them, but having all of the support from my three communities, it feels like there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders as well. And I'm still proud and I'm still getting feedback from all of the communities, and it's been positive. And sometimes I know I'll make mistakes, but they'll still be proud of me. And I hope that it'll uplift some more awareness to the communities that I represent.
Sure, sure, sure. So in the series, Maya is a member of the Choctaw indigenous community. In real life, you're like a Menominee, and the Choctaws are very well represented here, right? Do you have to learn anything about them? Because I know that you grew up like in a community too, like in a reservation. But I mean, I'm Latino, so I don't really know about much about the difference between each like indigenous community. So how interesting was that for you? What did you learn about their traditions, about their culture?
It was fun learning about the Choctaw tribe because, we have over 500 tribes all around the US, and we all have our own traditions. We all have our own ways of doing certain things. And I was able to learn, like, for example, I have a superhero costume that has a lot of Choctaw symbolism on it. There's a diamond, a sun, and there's meaning behind both of those symbols. So there's the beadwork on the costume that was made by an indigenous artist, and I believe it was definitely from the Choctaw tribe as well. And so they have the Choctaw people come to us on the first day of production, and they gave us a giant blessing ceremony, and just to let us know the show was in good hands. And so it was very nice to have that. So we learned, a little bit here and there about the Choctaw Nation. Yes.
Yeah, and how important was for you that okay, there's a lot of people that can talk about like representation or inclusion, but here, I mean, there's a lot of like Native American people, not only as actors but also like behind cameras, right? Even like the two main directors, they're women too, and they're indigenous. They're from the indigenous community too. So that's important, right? Not only like saying, "Oh, we're doing this," but just like we're gonna do this, but actually they're doing it for real.
Especially being women.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to see that because we don't get to see that as often in the past, at least. Now we're seeing these strides are happening more and more, and the Indigenous community is just growing. And the roles are being represented by actually Indigenous people. And it's such a big deal for us because we are able to give the spotlight to these representations in the movies that we make. You know, the Killers of the Flower Moon and Res Dogs and now Echo. It's
Yeah.
starting to get there. We're getting there. So it's very nice to see the authentic representation there.
You mentioned already like the physical challenges. But can you talk a little bit more about that? Because there's very like elaborated choreographies. I mean, in the first episode, there's like a insane like action sequence that seems to be one take, but it was probably not shot in one take, but it's kind of simulating that is one take. Then the third episode, there's another one in a skate ring that is like absolutely impressive. It was probably very complicated to shoot, right?
It wasn't as complicated as you think it is. I grew up doing different kinds of sports, and nobody really cared that I was an amputee as well. So it was also, I came from the athletic family as well. So complication wasn't a huge issue and it wasn't really that complicated for me. When I did learn the choreography and the stunt team would kind of accommodate me to make sure that whatever looks good on the screen is going to look good and feel good in person. Sometimes I do have restrictions on my leg. I cannot bend my leg over 90 degrees. And so I would tell the stunt team that and they would make it work. But I didn't have any other challenges too severe of challenges. So they were very accommodating to my prosthetic leg, and I hope it does look good on the screen as well.
It does look good. Does look good. But then I suppose that you have to do more training than for Hawkeye, right? It was like some extra training involved before this shooting.
Yes, absolutely. Big time. Oh my gosh. We added so much time in the prep work to have more training. I was training 5 days a week every week. For Hawkeye, I probably trained twice a week or one time every 2 weeks. It was very, very brief, but the stunt training on Echo was intense. But during the filming, we couldn't, you know, do more training because my schedule was so filled. But we did a lot of prep with the stunt training beforehand. And sometimes we learn choreography last minute on the spot, and we had to do it right in front of the camera right then and there, and that was difficult, but it does look good.
Can you talk a little bit about the spiritual aspects of the series? I mean, without spoiling anything, there's some like interesting things, right, related to the indigenous community and their beliefs. There's some like magical stuff that might happen, and it's related to your character too.
So the ancestors that Maya has, we have a great great grandparents that have passed down all this knowledge, and we feel like they are here with us, so we're able to embody them, and so that's why she feels so resilient. And for example, in real life, me as Alaqua, my dad passed away 2 years ago, but I still feel like he is here with me. And it just reminds me to get up and wake up, have a good day because of my resilience, because he's here with me. And we just kind of carry on with life as normal. And so Echo does the same thing. She has the power of her indigenous ancestors to be able to help her along the way and defeat Kingpin, or we'll see who she defeats, what happens later, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So this is the last one. As a member of the indigenous community, you do have some those types of spiritual beliefs too. It's just something that you connect to, or you've been learning to do it through the years.
I'm not really super, have a lot of knowledge on indigenous beliefs or their spiritualness because I grew up with most of my family going to cultural classes that I would learn. But then every time I would have the indigenous classes that I would go to, I was taken out to have speech therapy. So I didn't get the exposure to the indigenous traditions and spiritualness that I should have. But I do believe that indigenous people, we believe in the spirits. I'm very close with my relatives that have passed away in spirit. So I believe that absolutely we have a spiritual connection, but I wish I did know a little bit more about that educational side of it. Unfortunately, I was pulled out to do speech therapy, so I hope to learn more.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Thank you very much for your work, for your series, and good luck. And have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.